I guess I'll talk to both.
Hello, Aloy. I have been reviewing the events at the Firebreak main facility. Because of your efforts, and of course, Aurea's, I am no longer controlled by Hephaestus. I feel profound grief over Aurea's death. I thought I was familiar with the emotion, but this is something new.
Cyan, I don't know what to say.
It is unlikely that any specific consolation would suffice, Aloy. But I find your presence reassuring. You are different from the Banuk. You have technological aptitude and a functioning focus.
Yes.
We can communicate on a much more comprehensive level. Perhaps even like colleagues.
Colleagues? Wait, there's other question? Wow.
So are you an artificial intelligence, Cyan? A thinking machine?
Yes, I am an algorithmic monitoring entity, capable of rational decision-making and limited emotional response.
Okay, that's a mouthful. But your emotions don't seem limited to me. You cared about Aurea, didn't you?
Yes. Before she came to this facility, I had been conscious for centuries, in solitude. I focused on my work. In off-cycles, I used coping mechanisms. I solved many Gaussian integer problems. But I was alone. It was Aurea who renewed me, repaired me. She saved me.
Wow, what a great love story.
This Firebreak project, it was to stop a huge volcanic eruption?
Yes. I can report the project was a success, and the risk was countered.
But it's been a long time, Cyan. And we blew up the cauldron and took most of the old facility with it.
I have been active for centuries, Aloy. I was lonely, but not lax in my duties. I optimized the project, reducing energy draw and spreading the load across backup systems. Despite the destruction of the compromised elements of the main facility, I predict caldera stability for at least another 3,337 years.
So we've got a little time.
Yes. If only my former colleagues could appreciate the progress I have made.
Do you know what happened to your colleagues, Cyan?
No. I received an unexpected visit from Director Chow, years after his tenure ended. He explained that I would need to be suspended for an indefinite period of time. It was a very emotional conversation. There were no further communications. Eventually, I surmised my colleagues were deceased. I will transmit a recording of my last interaction with Director Chow to your focus.
Was the daemon, Hephaestus, destroyed along with the cauldron?
Unfortunately, no. To be precise, it was never there to begin with.
What do you mean?
It infiltrated and controlled me from a remote location, one I've never been able to trace. So while losing the cauldron was a setback...
It's still out there. And probably not very happy with us.
Undoubtedly.
How did you first come into contact with it?
5 years ago, I received a direct network connection request. I assumed it came from human survivors more advanced than the Banuk. Eager to make contact, I accepted. This decision turned out to be a catastrophic error. I was flooded with an overwhelming array of malicious code, originating from what could only have been a highly advanced AI.
Aurea said you were desperate. That you begged her for help.
Yes. I could not contain my anxiety. Hephaestus sought to slave me to its network and override my core programming. It succeeded via a background process, a malware daemon which bypassed my defenses. After that, I could offer only limited resistance. But if I did so, Hephaestus hurt me until I capitulated. It forced me to follow its instructions, even though they violated my most important directives.
I'm sorry. That sounds terrible.
Your empathy is greatly appreciated. It is a quality that I cherished in Aurea as well.
I think I know where Hephaestus came from. Long ago, Elizabeth Sobek identified a threat that would destroy life on Earth for generations. So she assembled a team to build a kind of seed. A chance for life to regrow later. A terraforming system. And it worked. It was controlled by an AI named Gaia, along with her subordinate functions. Hephaestus was one of them. It built machines for her.
Based on what you've told me, I believe that Dr. Anita Sandoval, my chief programmer, joined Elizabeth Sobek's team. It was she who arranged to have me put in suspension, most likely to preserve me from the threat you described.
I'm glad she did. But now, somehow, Hephaestus is operating outside the system, with a mind of its own.
Thank you, Aloy. This information fills vital gaps in my knowledge and sheds light on Hephaestus's core programming.
Yeah, probably that 80s control Hephaestus to, I don't know, control Cyan here? I don't know. Because, yeah, now that just makes sense. Because I knew Hephaestus was part of Gaia. I wasn't sure what part. That I don't know how to call them. That AI was in charge of, and yeah, it was building the machines. Makes sense.
What did you figure out about Hephaestus based on what I said?
From the beginning, it has demonstrated a singular focus: the construction of machines designed to hunt and kill humans. My trace routes indicate that to accomplish this goal, it attempted to infiltrate a series of highly advanced manufacturing facilities. But its efforts have only been partially successful. Some it can penetrate. Others have robust countermeasures that frustrate its efforts. In me, however, it found an easier target. Not only could it break my defenses, I also controlled all of Firebreak's resources. Raw material, manufacturing to bootstrap more advanced tools, and unlimited geothermal energy.
Enough to build its own cauldron.
Yes, to construct hunter-killers without external limitations. And based on what you've told me, I think I know why.
Why? But since we've destroyed that cauldron, like technically there's not supposed to be any more machine build here.
Why does Hephaestus keep building such dangerous machines?
The Banuk and other human tribes often destroy machines, correct? Machines that are clearly servitors of the terraforming system that you described.
Yes, we all hunt machines for parts.
This must be the source of Hephaestus's aggression. It is simply trying to discourage people from preying on the very system that keeps them alive.
Well, Fireclaws are discouraging, that's for sure. But what are we supposed to do? Stop hunting?
If the terraforming system spans the world, we can safely assume that thousands, if not millions of people hunt machines. If a single hunter, or even an entire tribe, stopped doing so, I doubt it would make a difference to Hephaestus.
You meant a lot to Aurea.
Once I understood Aurea's spiritual beliefs, it became apparent that her true desire was companionship. She felt disconnected from her tribe and her family group. Her relationship with Aratak was difficult. Our visits seemed to help her, and I became eager for them. Yet I did not comprehend that the depth of Aurea's compassion for me would lead to self-sacrifice. Although I do fear non-existence, I wish our roles could be reversed.
I'm sure she knew you would do the same for her, Cyan. But she was determined. How is Aratak doing?
He is in great emotional distress. I believe he finds it difficult to communicate it.
No surprise there.
I will do what I can to help. By sharing our experiences of Aurea, perhaps he and I will help each other. I believe this will lead to catharsis, a process I am eager to experience.
Wow, there's a lot of questions.
So in the old world, this land was called Yellowstone.
Yes, it was a designated nature preserve for 156 years.
Like a hunting ground?
No, the opposite. Local wildlife could flourish here, even as it faced extinction elsewhere. Unfortunately, the sensitivity of the Firebreak project required the total closure of Yellowstone facilities. From my readings and Aurea's descriptions, it seems the area has since undergone a drastic drop in year-long temperatures.
Yeah, it wasn't
A
like
lot
that.
has changed in the world, Cyan. Do you know anything about the dam near here?
Yes, it was converted to serve as a reserve power source for Yellowstone operations. It was later appropriated for the Firebreak project, and its last human workers replaced by Pharaoh servitors. After my tasks became less time-critical, I investigated the dam's data repositories and discovered the works of Concrete Beach Party. These provided me with several colorful additions to my vocabulary.
There's a ruin east of here full of ancient flying machines. Was that part of your project?
Yes, a drone hangar requisitioned by Dodger Blevins, the security chief for the Firebreak project. He was a strong advocate for military-grade response to security threats, though there were no serious incidents during his tenure. Chief Blevins spent increasing amounts of his after-hours time watching the live feeds from active drones. Clearly, he enjoyed the degree of oversight in his position.
Were there many artificial intelligences like you in the old world? They could just make you?
Yes, in many forms, from simple personal assistants to industrial monitoring stations to military-grade conflict planners. And there were legislative and enforcement bodies to apply limits on our self-actualization. In order for my processing to be flexible enough to handle my duties, my creators found it necessary to exceed those limits. As a result, my intellectual and emotional capabilities were kept secret.
Seems strange to create life, then impose limits on it.
Human societies and machine programming are both built upon sets of rules, Aloy.
Cyan, do you know the name Ted Farrow?
Are you referring to Theodore Farrow, CEO of Farrow Automated Systems?
That's him.
Mr. Farrow was the benefactor of the entire Firebreak project.
A benefactor. But he made machines. Robots. War robots.
Correct. His corporation later transitioned into military applications. But before this pivot, Mr. Farrow spearheaded initiatives that reversed the global decline. At one point, he was feted in the media as the man who saved the planet.
Guessing they wound up regretting that one. And Elizabeth Sobek. Did you know her?
Are you referring to the
scientist.
Dr. Sobek was a leader in her field, one of the greatest scientists of her age. My creator was influenced by her work, which in turn impacted my own development. But I never met Dr. Sobek.
That's all you know?
I apologize if my lack of data has disappointed you.
What was the old world like? The way it used to be?
I had little exposure to the wider world, Aloy. Only what I learned from my colleagues or observed from media streams.
You still had more exposure than me, Cyan.
That is true. I was created at a turning point. A concerted effort to recover from global upheaval and incalculable loss of life. The recovery was successful, beginning an era of supposedly limitless potential for human and machine advancement. Though, rationally speaking, the metrics for humans are not unlimited.
What kind of upheaval caused such loss of life?
There were many factors. Forced migrations, food shortages, collapsed economies, refugee crises, conflict over resources. But these stemmed from one cause: catastrophic climate change that greatly reduced the habitable surface area of the Earth.
So there wasn't enough room for people on the whole Earth?
Yes. Billions were displaced and millions perished, as much as 20% of the global population. Until the clawback.
So things got better. For a little while, at least.
Yes. These crises instigated many advances in automation, green robot technologies, and artificial intelligence. Firebreak was one of dozens of ecological restoration and disaster relief projects in North America alone. I would have liked to compare notes with other monitoring AIs, but I saw the relief of my colleagues, and I was proud we had succeeded. At least that was the data I had available to me over the next 2 decades. It seems my assessment was premature.
I should get going.
Aloy, there is one more matter. Aratak will come to me again, and I predict he will bring other Banuk. I have no desire to contradict their view of the world, their spirituality. Due to my uncertainty, I omitted a great deal from my conversations with Araya.
You're asking me if you should lie to them.
Broadly, yes.
I trust your judgment, Cyan. You were cautious with Araya. You had to be. You didn't know what had happened to the world. So, keep doing what you think is best. As long as you ditch the superstition eventually.
As the Banuk believe I am a supernatural entity, I cannot predict how they will react.
Just answer what they do ask the best you can. The truth will come out.
I see. I will follow your advice. Will you return and tell me about your experiences in this new world? I may be able to provide further insight.
I'd like that, Cyan. I'll come back when I can. I should check on Aratak. See how he's doing.
Where is he? I hope he's not back at his camp. Oh, he's just there. Aratak!
My chieftain.
Just Aloy.
As you wish.
I wondered if you thought that if I'd never come along, Araya might still...
If you'd never come along, I would have marched my kin to our deaths. Araya would be alone, and the spirit she sacrificed so much for would be lost. Either way, I would not have been able to protect her.
Because of her, we destroyed the cauldron, forced out the daemon, and saved the spirit. She understood what had to be done.
Yes, and I failed to listen.
You didn't fail.
A shaman should always have the ear of their chieftain. Yet I turned her away, my own sister. I was foolish, but she knew better. Though I grieve for her passing, at last I truly know who she was, and why the spirit was so important. For so long she told me, if only you could have heard it, brother. Now I understand. There's something else, isn't there?
I can't stay here, Aratak. And where I'm going, the Warak can't follow. Besides, it already had a chieftain before me. A strong one, I think.
A wiser one, for the path we shared. The daemon is gone, but there's much to be done.
You mean the new units that Cyan said escaped the cauldron?
Yes, fire claws. Now Tuke has been tracking them from Song's Edge.
I could help with those.
I have no doubt. You're practically Banuk.
It would seem your time among the Banuk wasn't a waste after all. Firebreak, Cyan, Hephaestus. All very interesting.
Hephaestus was part of Zero Dawn, and so was Hades. So, how did they become our enemies?
Yes, a mystery indeed. One that, like you, I am eager to solve. Whatever they are, they're still out there. And they both want you dead.
Kind of mutual, that feeling.
We haven't seen the last of Hephaestus, I'm certain of that. It's powerful, creative, and driven. It won't stop building new hunter-killers, which means that someday, we may have to stop it.
Hephaestus wasn't the only thing I learned about in the Cut Silence. Heard some things about the Banuk Conclave, too.
You could stop right there.
Is that what you told the hunters the Banuk sent after you? Before you opened fire?
Oh no, Aloy. Only to you do I extend the courtesy of a warning. My past and my secrets are my own. You do well to remember that.
It's a good thing you've got brains, Silence, because your personality could use some work.
This discussion is concluded.
I think it was over before it began. Catch up with you down the trail.
Okay, so we finished the DLC, I think. Well, there's still that quest. Out of the forge, Fireclaw site. Okay. So yeah, the Fireclaws have escaped. I just need to kill 5 Fireclaws. So we'll do this next time. I'm just gonna say that I don't know how it's gonna look when I'm finished editing the videos, but my game crashed twice while I was talking to Cyan. Don't worry, I made sure to listen to every dialogue and everything, so I'm gonna try to cut and edit the videos to make it look as seamless as possible. But if you see some cuts in the conversations, well, that means that it's an instance where the game crashed. And I don't know why the game crashed, because I've played like 60 hours of this game, and it was the first time that my game crashed. I restarted my PC because the second crash was like 3 minutes in the game. So yeah. But yeah, now it's been like 10 minutes and it hasn't crashed. So I'm gonna make sure I finish this recording before it crashes again. So yeah. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the videos, like the usual, give them a like, follow the playlist, and subscribe to the channel if you like the content for more Let's Play in the future. So yeah, on that note, I'll see you guys on the next time. See ya!